Good morning and welcome to Gulfstream today. Brian Nato with you as we overlook the infield on another beautiful day here in Hollandale Beach. I'll bring in Ashley Mayu with me here on the show. We are off the turf today, a fast main track, 10 races on tap today, $150,000 gross guarantee in the Rainbow Six as well.
You mentioned it's a pretty afternoon now, but the last couple days we've had significant rainfall here, which is why we've been off the turf for several days in a row. Hopefully we'll get back on it soon enough, but just kind of with the weather, there's no way we can run on it. So there's two races that are moved to the Tapeta, one of which will be interesting, 1.5 miles on the Tapeta. I think that's going to be an interesting race to watch unfold, but plenty of action, 10 races on tap.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll kick it right off here. Already 25,000 in that early pick 5 pool. It'll be a big pool as we draw in on post. Here's my ticket today. Got scratched out a little bit with that race 4 now off the turf, so I adjusted it. Same $60 as we have. We'll talk about the opener shortly. I am 2-3 in order in race 2. Both Ashley and I, our best bet of the day, we'll call it Chow in race 3 for Safi, and all ball in race 4. I didn't have an opinion as we lost that race on the turf when we move over to the Tapeta, so I just wanted to ensure if I'm lucky to be alive, I will be alive going to the cash out leg, which is difficult as well. My long shot play of the day is number 6, Song Teller in there, and I think the last 2 legs, Ashley, of this early pick 5 could be a little chaotic.
I think they're really tough, especially the last, just being that maiden race with a big field in there, a lot of directions. And I think you made the right move. You used several runners in there. You also mentioned you used the all button, but by going light in race 2, it's a shorter field. You're able to do that also with the single. So only $60 considering you have the all button.
We actually both have the same top pick here in the opener in race 1 at 12:30. It's a $35,000 maiden claimer for the 3-year-olds. We go 7 on the main track. We both land on Paco's Pico. We've got a replay to bring up too. I just thought this horse in against much better last time with the Godolphin Blue. He is the number 7 here. It just never had a fair go of it. Kind of chucked it early after somewhat of a nightmare trip entering and around the first turn.
Yeah, it was an unideal trip by all means in there. And this is a horse who's actually stretching out and stepping up slightly from that $50,000 maiden claimer on debut. And I just think here, when you look at the trip that Paco's Pico got, obviously hindered his chances. For me, it was not the ideal of beginnings, and just kind of seeing this horse before showed a late run. I think this kind of just took everything away from him.
Yeah, I agree. Really had no chance, and I just drew a line through it. And you focus on the debut, and he was a distant 3rd, and now Lasix is going on. He could be a square price here too. Very early in the betting, I look over at the board, 9-2. So we'll see what we get come post, but I think there's a lot of reason to move forward. You go number 6, Champ Dubai, a firster for Jose D'Angelo.
Yeah, and he's actually got 2 in here. He's got the horse on the rail, the number 1, Eyes of a Champion, and then the 6, Champ Dubai. And for me, I just looked at the workouts. The last couple, they've only been 3 furlong drills, but they've been pretty snazzy, kind of looking at the pedigree here. A $15,000 purchase back in April of 2021, but this is Florida's leading sire, Kozan. It's about 13% with first-time starters. And looking at the sample size, there's not a lot for Jose D'Angelo in terms of firsters, but I feel like he's had a really strong championship meet. He's winning at almost 30%.
Yeah, the barn has been live with everything he sends out, and about 29% with Junior Alvarado as well. I went with La Man M. Mo, maiden special weight dropper for Joe Orsino, 3 starts. Tyler Gaffalione 1-4 yesterday. He's going to get aboard today for the first time. Lasix as well. So I think this one on the drop, the biggest drop in racing, I think can move forward too.
Drop, getting back onto the dirt and cutting back. I think that's key, because looking at his 3 races, his best was on debut at 6 furlongs. So today's 7/8 distance might suit him better than his last 2 efforts.
Yeah, Bourbon over Ice and the 8 Wizard Serrata. Firster for Victor Barboza, so maybe check the tote there. 5-1 early in the betting. See if the money shows as well. Early pick 4 time in race 2. We get to the Tapeta in this $25,000 starter allowance for 4-year-olds and up. We go about 1.70 miles. We both land on the same Emoji Guy, who's pretty sharp, running 2nd last time for Bobby DeBona. Now goes off to claim for Jose Garofalo. It's not a huge sample, but a barn that's not necessarily prolific. Is 3 for 17 off the claim.
And he's a 2-time winner here on the Tapeta. He actually won the first Tapeta race that we ever held here at Gulfstream Park. That was back in September. Next time out, people saw that. His Buyer stayed pretty much the same in these 3 starts. He won. I thought last time out he was just simply second best. I kind of looking at the pace a little bit too. It was a little slower than he had seen in his prior efforts on the Tapeta. From a consistency angle, I thought in this field he kind of stood out in that respect.
Pound Green's interesting, and I read Ortiz's off his mounts today and will be for at least a little bit. with a knee injury. Javier Castellano is going to ride the 5-pound green, who you had some interest in. I know you know Mike DiPaolo and the job he does up at Woodbine. Very, very small sample, 2 for 6 off the claim.
Yeah, just kind of, you mentioned small sample. Another small sample so far at the championship, made 3 for 4 in the money, one of which was a win. I just thought this horse having that edge of experience racing up at Woodbine and some races that I think are saltier than this group gave this one an edge. I also saw originally Irad was supposed to ride.
Yeah.
I thought that was an intriguing move here for the connection. So this horse I think is sneaky. I think when you start to look at figures, probably a little on the lower side than other horses, especially Emoji Guy, but has a big shot.
Yeah, tough to improve off Roger Atfield, but the barn, I always think the barns like this that come down from Woodbine bring horses here that they think can fit, and certainly Claiming Pound Green is one of them. Healing for Mike Maker, who's been, a little slow in his stride at the meet, did run 1-2 in the Big Rainbow 6 the other day. Healing drops in class. I was going to show the replay of his last race. It says shut off, checked quarter pole. He was backing up anyway, and I kind of think there was more to it. There wasn't as much as you might want to believe, but he's eligible to get a piece in here.
And that was going 1.25 miles,
Yeah.
so there is a cutback today. I think looking at some of his races on the turf at Fairgrounds just about a year ago, he had a good effort there. He was able to close from off of it, and even 3 starts back. I mean, the big thing with him, I think he might have needed a little bit of time off. You can see that he did, and he came back good, but maybe that effort took something out of him. So I think from here, there's only room for improvement.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. The drop plays in here. Race 3 is a $20,000 3L here. We go about 1.70 miles on the Tapeta. Both Ashley and I, our best bet of the day, the one Chow for Safi. Edwin Gonzalez is going to get aboard again. Irad Ortiz off his mounts today. There's just a lot to like for this 4-year-old son of Noble Mission.
And kind of looking at his effort last time out at the level, he only missed by 3/4 of a length. He was 4-1 in there. Diligent, came back to win next time out. I thought he just looked really good in that race when you watch the replay. Obviously, his form before that, they kind of had him traveling all over the place, and he was running okay, but not great. So I liked when he came here. He saw an improvement, getting back to Gulfstream Park on a new surface. And I will say, he's 4 years old, but when you go back to some of his races in 2021, he was facing tougher than this group.
Yep. Yeah, and it's a good point, too, because if Diligent won yesterday, I believe, to kick off the Rainbow 6 at about 8-1. So, and he's been in very, very good form. So it certainly flatters the one Chow. You went with Famous Gent in second, number 2, and we've got a trainer stat to show on Jose D'Angelo as well.
Yeah, we'll just start with the stat because this is a horse exiting the same race as Chow. And in Famous Gent's case, this is now second off the claim. Second start in the barns and joining the new connections, Jose D'Angelo. Just looking at the second off the claim the past year, small sample size, but it's pretty strong numbers. 3 for 14 in terms of wins, 21%, half the time in the money with $1.61 ROI. And as I mentioned, horses exiting the same race as Chow. I thought overall kind of an even performance. It was still good. I really preferred his effort maybe 2 and 3 starts back when he showed a little bit more. But I just think there is room for improvement. He came from a trainer that does well with claiming horses, and he's going to another one that does well. So we'll see what he can do today.
Yeah, like we mentioned in race 2, Jose's just firing all meet long. Voliero down in second for me. I've been doing the turf thing for Mike Maker in New York against better. The numbers figure. Tyler Gaffalione lands here, and I think now he's at the mercy of the pace a little bit. No early speed at all. It's another reason I think we like Chow a lot in here. He's got very tactical, but I think Voliero on the drop makes sense in here too.
Yeah, I think Chow and Famous Gent have that edge where they'll be close to it, where it looks like Voliero is going to come from behind. I mean, this horse always comes from the back of the pack, and maybe that's a concern. I just thought looking at the races in New York, coming here for $20,000 should fare well.
Yeah, I agree. Now, race 4, we are off the turf in this $40,000 starter, 4 and up, so we go about 1.70 miles here in race 4. You go to number 6. It's a good starting out point, too, Bohemian Boy. We've got a replay to show, and then we'll show a trainer stat as well. But let's check out the replay. I mean, here he is here, okay? And you've got to remember, I'm going to give you the top finishers here. It's in order 3, 10, 9, 5. You're not going to see any of them but the 10 right here. And here he is 3 deep in the second pack. Point being here, this race absolutely fell apart. Anyone in your picture right now, with the exception of Bohemian Boy, was nowhere at the finish line. It was a stalker closer's race. I thought he ran big, Ashley. Now he's got to do it today on the Tapeta, and that's unproven, but he's only started twice, too. Second off the layoff, second time Cassie. I do think there's a lot to like with Bohemian Boy.
I think there's a ton to like. This is a horse that won at first asking, went to the sidelines for about 11 months and came back and ran a game second. You mentioned this horse, when you start to watch this race, put the number 10 in here, gets the lead for a little bit, but everyone else He had that kind of, when the race fell apart and the complexion changed, they all were able to close. So I thought he held in. He looked game to the finish. Now he's making that second start off the long layoff, something to note. And once this replay wraps up, we can move over to the trainer stat here. Just looking at second off anywhere from about 6 months to a year with a horse that, did well first off the layoff the past 2 years. 22% in terms of wins. That's from a sample size of 59. And almost in the money half the time with a $2.07 ROI. So horses that come back off the long layoff and they do well, the numbers kind of improve from there second off. So I think there's room for improvement.
And Mark won about 4 or 5 races in the past, maybe 3 or 4 racing days over last weekend. And Mark and Edwin Gonzalez have really, really been firing together since, basically the summer. So they're over 30%. So take note of that. I do think that the horse that gets helped the most with the surface switch is the 7 Skeet Patrol, a George Strawbridge homebred for Jonathan Thomas. You look at the form here, all 3 races, Presque Isle, Woodbine, Turfway on synthetics. He's well traveled. He doesn't need to take his track with him. He drops from a 1X at Turfway for a very, very prolific high percentage barn.
And I think looking at the race last time out, he flattened, which we didn't see in those other efforts. He was able to kind of make somewhat of a late bid. But the key thing, as you mentioned, he's gone and stayed on the synthetic, and he's had to travel to do so. So they seem like they've been happy with how he's performed on the synthetic. Obviously, Jonathan Thomas does well with first turf, but with the race going to the Tapeta now, he makes a lot of sense. He's not in my top 3 here, but I do think he's probably a horse that could beat me in here.
Mike Maker's got a chance to have a day and really get things going, and Steak and Cheese certainly figures going to try the Tapeta for the first time. The turf races at Del Mar and Santa Anita were against better. That's got to make him a major player in here.
Yeah, this is a horse that Ron and we talked about all kind of spring and summer long before the horse left, and I wasn't really enamored with his performances at Gulfstream, but then I saw him switch coast. He got out there, got some confidence in him, and he had 5 back-to-back efforts that, in my opinion, they're all pretty solid when the biggest margin of defeat was when you finished 4th beaten by a length and a quarter in terms of placing and margin. So he's been rock solid, exiting that $40,000 claimer out there at Del Mar. He makes a lot of sense, but you've mentioned the barn's been a little on the colder side as well. So I think you have to kind of weigh that all together.
Yeah, I agree. Tough last 2 races to end the early pick 5. We'll take a break on Gulfstream today. When we come back, Ron Nicoletti and his Rainbow 6. Stay tuned.
Mounted for glory. Arrogant, gun runner, city of light, mucho gusto, and Knicks go. Racing, the thunder and the lightning on the track, energy in the stands. 5, fashion, entertainment, all for one.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Brian and Ashley with you. 10-race card here on Thursday. Don't forget, we are off the turf, main track fast. Obviously, we've got the Tapeta, and it brings us to race 5. It's a $16,000 maiden claimer 3-year-old fillies. We go about 5.5 on the Tapeta, and that also brings us to Ron Nicoletti's Rainbow 6. Don't forget, a gross guaranteed of $150 in the pool. Look at that, Ashley, 43.20. I am stunned. Ronnie's got some coverage throughout.
He does have coverage throughout, I think, obviously. Looking at the first leg here, not an easy one necessarily to get through. A lot of different angles. Some horses with first-time starters are only making their second start. A lot of different things to consider. And you can kind of look at how his ticket falls from there. I see in race 6, he went with some coverage. And even though it's a compact field, I personally found it a difficult race to handicap.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this is not an easy sequence. And so he's got that 43, his standard play. And if you didn't catch it yesterday, Ronnie had a 6-pack yesterday, and they were not short price winners by any stretch of the imagination. He came into the office hot yesterday, and he kept going in the afternoon. So 43.20, and I'll tell you what, he's been threatening this Rainbow 6 for a couple weeks now. A couple 5 out of 6s, he's getting close. So take note of that. This is a tough race to kick it off with. There's no doubt about it. We're probably all over the place. I look here. You've got the 12. I've got that one in second. Spicy Honey will have to negotiate a wide draw. Tyler Gaffalione in the irons is a good way to do it.
This was tough to figure out who was going to be your top pick. I kind of went back and forth. I'm brutally honest with horses because I saw things. You see the drop, but is that enough? And this is a horse that is making the drop from the $35,000 level after having a bit of a freshening. Exited those maiden special weight races. They want improved performance, dropped. And you want to knock the horse, was favored last time out in Weekend. Now that was going a mile on the turf, 35. There's definitely a drop in class today, a significant drop. First time Lasix. So far, the connections, they haven't had the best of starts, but they're just 0 for 3 from a limited sample size. Last year, they were 11%. One thing of confidence, too, Tyler. Tyler had a heck of a day yesterday, winning 4 races. So it's just, for me, the drop and the rider today.
There's just a lot going on here. It's a bit of a minefield. You see the drops. You see first-time starters. My long shot play of the day is the 6 Song Teller. It'll be interesting to see 15 on the morning line, maiden special weight dropper, coming out of races where this daughter of Astern, Australian sire, has shown a lot of speed. The numbers here are as competitive, if not more, best in here. The barn is winless on the year. I understand that, but also 3 races on the Tapeta at Presque Isle Downs as well. And, maiden special weight to maiden claimers is the biggest drop in racing. When you bring speed out of those maiden special weights, I think you can be doubly tough. I guess we have the 7 in common a little bit. Mo Clips, Jorge Delgado, Firster, Chantel rides here. They are 27% together.
And looking at Mo Clips, you mentioned Jorge Delgado, Chantel, those connections, but other stats. He does well with Firsters, and he also does well with horses debuting at maiden claiming levels. With some of the bigger outfits, that's not their strong suit, and he's about 38% from a limited sample. Looked at the works. To me, the most recent work was a tune-up, and I like seeing that it was on the Tapeta. That breeze was on January 4th, so a lot of horses point to this. We went with horses that had experience, though.
Yeah, the debut sample, as you mentioned, it's 3 for 8, but the bigger sample, I like 34% from a 58-horse sample in the maiden claiming rank. So this is a barn, that knows how to put these horses in the right spot. Tough one to end the early 5, to kick off that rainbow, 150 gross guarantee. Late pick 5 time here in the 6. We'll take a look at my ticket, $30. A little spready early, back-to-back singles. Race 7, top pick is down inside, Magic Girl. Race 8 kicks off back-to-back singles. Full charge, I got to be honest, you could single or use 5 or 6 of them in race 8. I certainly wasn't doing that. I don't know if I want to call Mezcal the universal single, but she'll be a strong favorite. Now under Luis Saez in the 9th. That's a mile and a half now on the Tapeta. Don't forget that. Spread in the finale, top pick, and we'll show a replay of Nana Fanny, who I thought ran very, very well last time, stretching out. She should be a decent number in the finale. Spread early, spread late, and we'll try to get it going in the middle as well. Race 6, Ashley, it's a good one too. It's an optional claimer. Fillies and Mares 4 and up, a flat 1-turn mile. You go to number 3, Halawa, who I've got in second, certainly comes in good form off a very good second last time. Dance Doro came back to wire the Rampart, looking very good doing it for Ralph Nix. I think this horse can potentially move forward, too, second off the layoff.
Yeah, I thought Dance Dioro looked really good. So seeing that this one finished in front of it maybe gives you some confidence. 2020 was not a long campaign for this one. 2021, though, they came back 5 starts, 2 of which were wins, and the wins were pretty impressive. They were by big margins, actually beat Crumbun in that effort back in June. Then they decided to take a chance from that overnight handicap to the Grade 2 Princess Rooney. They finished 4th behind CC. We know had a heck of a day up out Breeders' Cup winning. Ran okay, though, overall, when you look at the competition that she faced. Then she had some time off, joined the barn of Ron Spatz, and was second and beat Dance Dioro. So I think second off that long layoff for the new connections. This is my pick, and I loved seeing some of the breezes. Really strong works in the morning.
Yeah, and just a quick plug, we might see CC back here in the inside information. I believe I saw that, and would be potential champion Breeders' Cup winner, as you alluded to. I went outside with a little bit of a price on Grandbaby. Take note, Leonel Reyes is going to ride again. Irad is off his mounts for what we think could be 2 to 3 weeks. I know he might be getting a second opinion on his knee. Regardless, get back soon. Irad. I thought Grandbaby ran okay last time. You see Dance Doro in the Rampart. Obviously, that was a pretty salty spot for Amador Sanchez to run her first time in his care off a layoff. She didn't fire, but she didn't, you know, she certainly didn't embarrass herself either. She was beaten less than 7 lengths, and she got fried chasing Dan Storo that day, who was so good on the front end. I think she can move forward in here.
I think she can move forward, and second start since joining the new connections. But the big thing is when you go back to this mare's form, she had some really big performances in Chile. Typically, they were going longer than today's distance. She fared well at 1.25 miles, a mile and 3/16. But obviously, when she first came here, the expectations were high, and she was in some deep spots. Had to face Matira twice in a row, who won both those efforts, including the groupie doll. So I agree. When you're chasing Dan Storo, who has such talent on the front end, puts this mare in a tough spot last time.
If it falls apart, on paper, there's a lot of speed in here. We haven't really mentioned the pace. There's a lot of it in here, and you'll see how it shakes out. There's a 6-horse field in here. If it falls apart, the 4 Happy Constitution for Safi and Tyler Gaffalione is going to be in the right spot, a spot very similar, Ashley, to what she did 2 back right here at Gulfstream when she blew the doors off. A lesser field today, though.
Yeah, looking at the last year, her best performances where she won 2 starts back, and then going back to March, it's when she gets that stalking trip. And you said there is speed, so she should get a good trip. She's coming out of that 7/8 race, the safely kept a small stake at Laurel. Not the best of performances, but she does like it here at Gulfstream Park. Her record's quite strong.
Yeah, without a doubt. So take note of that. A little bit of a jockey's race here, I do, with 6 horses that have shown speed but don't necessarily want to be on the lead. Late pick 4 time here in the 7th. We're back on the Tapeta in a $10,000 claimer. We go about 1.70 miles, 4 and up, fillies and mares, and you've got a late pick 4 to take a look at.
Yeah, that's actually, my ticket did change the structure with the scratches in the 1.5 mile race, now moved to the Tapeta. So here I go 3 deep. For me, in terms of this race, I thought it was a spread race. I used the 4 generic mark, the number 6, All About Catherine, as well as the 8, She's Hot Today. Race 8, I spread again. I actually tossed out of my ticket here Disc Jockey. It was my 4th pick in there. I know this horse is 7-2 on the morning line coming out of a stakes race, but it was back in February of 2020, so I used 5, 6, and 7. Race 9, I mentioned this is where I went from 3 horses to 2. A lot of people will single Mezcal. For me, I ended up also using my second choice, the number 2, a Silky Warrior for Jeff Hiles. And then to round it out, that was a wide open race. The number 2, Barbara, going to take some respect, but my long shot is the number 1, Quality Control. And I also used the number 9, Bourbon Diversion for Barkley Tag. So $27 play here in the late pick 4.
Yeah, I'm 3-5 in race 10, so you can kind of tell what's going on there. It's a very, very problematic race to end all those horizontal sequences. But back here in race 7, we'll take a look at your top pick. There we go. Number 6, All About Catherine, who I think flow-wise is going to trip out here because I think, make no mistake, down inside with Paco probably takes the initiative here, stretching out. We know how aggressive Paco can be. Theoretically, it puts All About Catherine in a very good spot, tracking outside in second.
You can see last time out, they had a compact field on the Tapeta. They tried to take it on the front end, just second best at the end. Current situation was able to get the job done. Now, for me, you can see some of these races, especially that first race off the layoff this summer. I know it was on the turf, but this horse has a strong knack for being able to sit off the pace and make the move. So I agree. I think this horse could trip out. Has raced pretty well on the synthetic. I know 2 starts back, was in deeper waters, but kind of had some problems in that race and just completely quit in the end. Edwin Gonzalez was aboard the last 2 times. I like the effort, so he's staying aboard, and he's had some winners. He's coming alive again here at the meet.
Yeah, I agree, and he's ridden the Tapeta. I think over the summer when we first got on the Tapeta, I think he was probably riding as good as anybody, if not better. I went inside to Magic Girl, and I was 5 deep here in this race, so obviously I don't have a strong opinion. But, you know, she got to the Tapeta last time, and I thought she ran pretty well. It was her first start over it. You know, my trip note says she got no pace help whatsoever because the leader was loose that day, and I still thought she tried a little bit. Maybe the flow's a little better for her today, if make no mistake, and All About Catherine hook up, or at least if they keep each other honest. I think Magic Girl can move forward a little bit.
And you mentioned the pace setter there was All About Catherine. So didn't have anything really go this mare's way, and she still was able to finish 3rd in there and round out the trifecta. It was an improvement from her other performances. It was also her 3rd race off the form cycle. Corey Lannery aboard last time, back in the irons today.
We've got She's Hot Today in common for Chris Davis, who reaches out for Tyler Gaffalione. Chris's couple wins at the meet. He's very, accomplished on the synthetic. And a lot of his horses, you see 2 for 22, but he's got 6 seconds. His horses are running.
And this is one that we both, I think, liked last time out, was favored in that same race that we keep on mentioning here on December 16th. And the horse just didn't fire. It was the first start in 2 months. Got over the surface. I do think this horse can improve with a second trip over the surface. And for me, Horse didn't show much in 2020, but since joining the barn, had a pretty good year last year. So I'm hoping that this one can improve.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Chris, he's at Arlington in the summer. He was at New England Fairgrounds last winter. He brought a lot of horses down this winter that are going to run well on the Tapeta here. Race 8 is a very, very good one. It's a 4-and-up optional claimer. We go a flat one-turn mile on the main track. A lot of different ways you can go in here. Drive for fun for you, for Rusty Arnold, off a big, big second-time win at Churchill Downs.
The horse debuted at Keeneland, only going 3/4, maiden specialty competition. Took some play, which I liked seeing. I liked seeing that the third-place finisher came back to win next time out. But it was just kind of a so-so performance. Did have trouble, though. And then I thought next time out, stretching out. Change of tactics, went towards the front there, was able to prevail by almost 2 lengths at a price in there. So for me, I know the connections don't do quite well with winners last time out, but I thought it was an interesting trip last time out. Luis Saez in the irons, never a bad thing. Obviously, they had some hopes for this horse. It was a $140,000 purchase.
Yeah, a lot of upside here as well in this post going a mile. I like being outside. You can see what's happening down inside. I went right next door, full charge for Jack Sisterson, who's had a good winter down here, and I just thought, I know this horse did it at 2 turns last time, but I look at the form here, and this to me is just typical Jack, a nice progression, and then there's the breakthrough effort. Yes, we face winners today for the first time. Yes, we cut back to 1 turn. Tyler Gaffalione is here. I just thought that signaled the breakthrough last time, and I think there's some speed in here he can settle just a little bit off of.
This horse I liked. You can see I used lower in my positioning here. I used for third, just thinking that this horse might need one start off that layoff because we haven't seen the horse since mid-June. That most recent effort, 1 and 3/16. So this horse has actually done well at anything from 1 and 1/16 to 1 and 1/8. But I agree, I don't mind the 1-turn mile. Jack does well with horses that won last time out. He's had a strong beginning to the meet as well. I just kind of wanted to see and take a wait-and-see approach.
Yeah, I mean, he's off the layoff too, so, could need one, but we'll see what we get today. Tap It to the Wire was the one horse, and this is so dangerous. It's Safi, and second time out, and this horse won on debut. I was going to fade this horse today. You look at the main contenders in here are running 5s and 6s on the thoroughgrass. He ran a 12 on debut. I know anytime Safi wins on debut, you've got to take notice because it's not really his thing. He does have to improve, though, and he's facing winners as well.
Well, he needs to improve, and yes, he won on debut, which is a huge reason. I do like him here, but if you want to knock it, it was a 4-horse field. So when those races, in my opinion, become a very much a rider's race.
Yeah.
It's all about strategy, and there was going 3/4. He seems to be working well since that effort. We haven't seen him since late October. So I don't mind this horse stretching out. I take a little reservation in that most recent race, but you said it's Safi. So if he has, is able to fire on debut, I think he's a horse that you probably have to use in your exotics.
Small sample, but Safi and Junior Alvarado, 38% with 447 ROI, 16 horse sample. So that's one to certainly take note. We go to the 9th, and Ashley mentioned it at the start. We are off the turf today, so we go about 1.5 miles on the Tapeta. And you want to talk about a jockey's race here. Fillies and mares 4 and up, a 5-pack. What we do know, well, 2 things we know. We don't know if Mezcal is going to handle the Tapeta. We know where she'll be, though, because she's as loose as possible in this spot.
Yeah, and I think the scratches, even on paper before the scratches, she looked to be the lone pace setter in here. But I think even the scratch of B Up, who was probably going to be possibly not far off of her based on some things, this kind of makes it easier on Mezcal. Last time out, raced at 1 mile and 3/16, was second best to Flanagan's Cove as the favorite. But the lone win, the maiden score was 2 back going 1.25 miles. So I'm not really worried about the distance. I like seeing that going 1.25 miles she rated, but then we saw the speed last time out, and she was still quite strong.
Luis Saez is going to get aboard for Irad Ortiz, and it's just Mezcal to catch, no doubt. If you want to nitpick a little bit, Street Boss on the bottom doesn't really scream distance, but with Pioneer on the Nile in top in a slow pace, I like her chances today. Number 2 down inside, Silky Warrior at a little bit of a number. You mentioned you use this one in your late pick 4 as well. Declaration of War filly for Jeff Hiles. Montjou on the bottom will help.
Yeah, the pedigree I looked at a little bit here, and then just looking at the consistency from this filly, she's 5 for 8 in the money. It took her a little bit to break her maiden. She did it at the 1 mile and 5/16 distance at Kentucky Downs, which I think it wasn't the biggest field that we see at Kentucky Downs, but I thought the competition at least is pretty steep there during September. Was able to win by 3/4. Didn't love the performance next time at Keeneland, but they actually raced this horse 12 days back after that and finished 3rd in that group of 10, that starter allowance event. So she's another one, had some time off in here. Workouts They're on the dirt. They're not the sharpest. It seems like looking at her races, they want turf. So I'm not worried about the workouts at all. Corey Lannery is going to pilot her for the first time.
Safi's got Champagne Ivy with Javier, and she's got some stakes for him. Going to try to really stretch out today, though.
Yeah, she's going to stretch it out the furthest. And that's the one thing when you look at this field. No one's gone a mile and a half, and some of them are trying. You mentioned the Tapeta for the first time. She does have one race under her belt over the surface. That was last time out. She had 2 months off. She came back. She finished 4th in that race, going a mile and 70. She actually made up some ground in there, and she had a wide trip. So it'll be interesting to see her on the stretch out.
The finale is a tough one. It's a maiden optional claimer here, so the Florida breds don't have to run for the 50 tag. We go about a mile on the Tapeta. I'm going to start it just because we have a replay of Nana Fanny, the 3-horse. She's the 4-horse in the video here, and you know, stretching out. Here she is here. I thought she ran pretty well in here, facing winners for the first time off a very, very slow debut, off a layoff as well. She gets shuffled a little bit, entering the far turn, maybe gets run off her feet a little bit. She's kind of got to re-break, re-rally. You see the top 2 are going to get first run on her. I thought she ran pretty well, Ashley. I think she's going to be a price in here. She's going to add a Lasix too, and just maybe in a race where you're allowed to look outside the box, maybe the dart lands on her.
You can see her in the light blue cap now. She still was traveling wide throughout the turn and angles out to only miss by a length. So I think it was a good performance. It's interesting. She debuted at the $16,000 level, bumped up to 25 now in the maiden optional for 50, and she's not in for the tag, just to note that on this horse. So interesting to see the progression, and now just making the second start since September, and seemed to handle the 2 turns way better.
You went down inside to the 1 quality control. Mike Trombetta trying to get his footing a little bit at the mean. He's very, very good on synthetics. I like the draw here. I like the maiden special weight drop, Lasix, and Javier as well.
This was a filly that was greener than grass on debut. Draw line through it was going 5.5. I liked seeing next time out. She took some play in there. She stretched out and fared quite well at Aqueduct in a big field of 12 there. Only missed by 2.25. Last time out in her first outing here at Gulfstream Park. The winner, Beechnut Trophy for Safi Joseph Jr., was very impressive in that race. This one didn't fire again. So first time Lasix, new rider today, Javier Castellano. For me, there's some intrigue there, and also just trying a new surface. The most recent work was on the Tapeta on January 9th, 36-2, which is a fair time.
The 2, Barbara gets Lasix, gets Chantel as well. Solid form for Jose Delgado.
Yeah,
Delgado, excuse me.
Rider change here, but Chantel was aboard last time out when this one finished 2nd at the level. Now, it was on the turf after having a bit of a freshening. Honestly, I've used Barbara several times and kind of just been beaten by her over and over again. You can see 2 starts back. Fish Mooney was the winner, a decent horse for Mark Cassie. We'll see what this one can do. Obviously, has fared well at the level, and horses that we've kind of looked to, they're going to need to improve.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of different ways you can go. A tough finale, a tough card, a 10-race card. Looking forward to it. Before we leave you, we'll take a look at the lightning round. We'll start right at the top with Tyler Gaffey on a 4-pack yesterday. And I think Tyler, with Irad now going to be down for a week or 2, Tyler is one that is really poised to make a move and pick up wins in bunches.
Yeah, and just looking at this when he won race 8, I think this was win number, was this
was
3
the
on the
third,
day?
I believe, yeah.
And he won with Critical Threat, a good performance from that one, who seemed to have enough left in the lane. Then you can see here his 4th win to win race 9, the start of the late double with the number 5. Great day for him. He didn't have a mount in every race either, so I thought it was a good performance. And he obviously always rides really well here at Gulfstream Park, and always one to watch.
Without a doubt, Stronach 5 returns tomorrow. Don't forget about that. Low takeout, $1 minimum. There you see the races there, using everything.
Yeah, we'll go from the Sunshine State and the Golden State, just races from Gulfstream Park, Santa Anita Park, and Golden Gate Fields. You can see the sequence there. Always a fun wager if you like the pick 5, the $1 minimum, 15% takeout, but just rapid action across the board in a short amount of time.
Stakes on Saturday, a couple for the Florida breds, 2 for $75,000 on an 11-race card. There you see the Sunshine's Classic and the Sprint.
Yeah, I looked at the fields a bit. I'm not sure how much of your homework you've done yet, but this is the Sunshine Classic slate. You can see a field of 7. Looking at the morning line favorite, Shamrock at 6-5, the number 3 in here. But when I kind of looked at the field, the number 7, Gloria Florida, is always one that I have to look at. 9-2 on the morning line. Tends to always get a share in those sorts of races.
Looking forward to that. And then, of course, obviously looking forward to the Pegasus on the 29th. We are T-minus 16 days and counting. Don't forget, you can get your tickets. I jumped the gun a little bit there, but PegasusWorldCup.com, you can get your tickets on that. 7 stakes, 7 graded stakes, 4 of them on the turf, and then what we think will be an epic clash between Knicks Go and Life is Good.
Yeah, obviously that's the main showdown, but obviously the addition of the other Pegasus race for the fillies and mares is huge, and looking forward to seeing that field come together, and I think we're going to have a great day of racing.
Never too early to talk about it, so looking forward to that. Ashley and I will be with you all day. Ron Nicoletti will be here with us as well. That is 22 minutes to post. We'll send it up to announcer Pete, tracks and changes, and then we'll be right back with you for the opener.
Pegasus, the divine winged horse that flew with heroes mounted for glory. Here begins our story of legendary times, the rarefied air when the stakes are high. Like the moment when you feel the vibe, the thunder and the lightning on the track, the energy in the stands, like music moving through your soul, shaking your hips, making you dance. The stars come out in the magic city, for Pegasus they stay, dressed in designers' newest finds, wishing all days could be like this. A moment in the sun, where everything is divine. Racing, vibe, fashion, entertainment. Arrogant, gun runner, city of light, mucho gusto, and Knicks Go. Pharrell Williams at the finish line. Lenny Kravitz rocks the runway. Snoop Dogg making it rain. A Jennifer Lopez family affair. Vin Diesel found out that cars aren't the only thing that are fast and furious. This runway on the rail. Post Malone on the mic. Mark Ronson on the ones and twos.